Good afternoon, Sales Beast podcast. We're here today with the Kristan Cole. We're really excited to learn more about some of the leadership path that she's been on, also talk about team building, expansion, systems, mentorship, and philanthropy. So welcome, Kristan.
Well, I'm so glad to be here today. It's a beautiful Friday in Scottsdale, Arizona. I hope it's beautiful up in Canada.
Definitely a little chilly, but we're getting there. The spring is starting to show up.
Good. I was talking to, actually I have a coaching client in Toronto that I was talking to this morning. They said it was like -9.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's 75 here today, so it's beautiful.
Freezing up here. As soon as borders open, we're coming down to visit you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hear that.
Awesome. So as we're getting started, Kristan, why don't you just give us a brief background around your career in real estate? I know that you've been in the industry for close to 36 years, more than 36 years now. So can you just kind of give us a high-level overview of what your network is now today?
Sure. So started as a single agent and was a single agent for 15 years, 36 years ago in Wasilla, Alaska, which is a very small town outside of Anchorage. And, today we still have our team in Wasilla, but we also expanded into Anchorage. Now we're in, over 30 locations across the U.S. I'm also the OP of 4 market centers and 6 business centers. And then also I own a mortgage company, a title company. I'm involved with Kristan's Home with Hope, which is our 501c3 charity that we raise money for. We get up every day and all of us pull on the oars hard. So it's been fun. But I would definitely say that having been a regional director for Keller Williams for the Southwest region, also being vice president of mega agent expansion for 5 years, the last 10 years, it seems like has been the super trajectory of my career. But it was all built on what I did the first 25 years. I'm sure you can understand that.
And Kristan, what was the shift that led you from going to individual agent to building out a team and now expanding to, from what I understand, over 50 locations across the United States?
The first part of it was because I was a mom. I was a single parent with 5 kids. And when I would go on vacation, just have to remember this was before cell phones, before computers. I know it's hard to think that real estate was really done back then, but it was. And so when we go on vacation, I was constantly running back to the hotel room to get on the phone to call somebody. And my kids hated it. And but living in Alaska, this was like 1998 when I started to build a team. And, no one had a team. That was just like, people thought it was weird. But I did it because I wanted to change my life. I was working 24/7. I was getting up at 4 a.m. and going to the office. And it just, at some point, something had to give. I just didn't know enough about building a business to know that that's just the natural way you build a business. Expansion is new to real estate, but it's not new to the business world. But it was certainly very new back then. So for me, it was just because I wanted my life back. I wanted a life. Yeah.
And at that time, when you were an individual agent, were you with Keller Williams, and was it Keller Williams that introduced you to expansion?
Actually, I was with RE/MAX for 25 years. I became the youngest broker owner in the state of Alaska. I became a broker owner at 24. I was the youngest broker at 22. Then I bought a second RE/MAX franchise. And so when I started building a team, I actually was with RE/MAX and heard a guy named Howard Britton speak at a conference in 1998. That's when I started building the team. And then it was actually in conversations with Gary Keller before I ever moved to Keller Williams. He was generous with his time to take my call. And he was the one that first opened my eyes to the fact that if I wanted to grow a bigger business, I was going to have to go outside of Wasilla and really what he was talking about was expansion, because the pool was finite. There was 1,250 transactions being done in a year, and I was doing 355 of them. So in order to grow, he said, you're going to have to you're going to have to expand. I didn't really understand what that meant. However, moved to Keller Williams in 2009 and started expanding in 2011. My first expansion was into Anchorage, and I still have that expansion partner with me today.
So like you said, like 10 years of trajectory, like, did you ever think you would get to this place? Is that something that you had envisioned from the day one that you started expanding, or is that, a path that you started to see along the way?
It was definitely a path I started to see along the way, Anna. And the thing of it is I really never had a desire to, at least it never intellectually crossed my mind to build a business to a certain size or to do what we've done. But what I found was that I had to be willing to let my business get as big as it needed to get if I was going to attract talented people who are going to stay. So meaning that they saw that they could have as much opportunity as they wanted or needed inside of our organization. So the size of the organization and the different verticals that we're in outside of real estate, but still within the same vertical of real estate, were really born by the fact that I needed to make my world bigger, or allow my world to get bigger, so that I could continue to attract really talented people.
I love what you said there, and I heard it said many times before similarly, and I just heard it recently again at Family Reunion. Gary said that as a leader, you have to have goals big enough so that your people's goals could also fit inside. So that's amazing.
Yeah, so the bottom line is we've gotten as big as we've gotten, not because it was my dream or my vision, but because it was their dream and their vision. And I don't have any preconceived notions on what it's going to look like 10 years from now, although I know it's going to look bigger. Because the people that I work with every day, that I get to, be with every day, have big goals and big dreams and big visions. And I want to make sure that they get what they want. So naturally, as a byproduct, our organization has to get bigger.
That's great. Now, let's talk about team building for a second here. What are some of the things that you look for when you're looking to bring someone into your organization?
That's a really good question. And we've been able to really boil it down. We took our mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. And we, as an organization, and really our director of growth, Joe, really worked with me on this, to take it down. And how do we boil it down into a few words that everyone would know, everyone would could articulate, and that really described in 4 words what our organization was. And we boiled it down to what we call our 4 G's: grit, grace, giving, and growth. And so our organization, if those are not things that you're passionate about, like we really, I don't know that we pride ourselves, but we certainly love the fact that everybody in our world are super gritty people. I mean, we're going to get up and day after day after day after day after day and do whatever needs to be done. We're gritty. I would also say that we come from an empathy place of, we will give grace to people even if they don't deserve it, because it's the right thing to do. While we're not perfect at it, we certainly, that's something we strive to do, is to give people grace. And then we really also are all about growth. We like growth. We want to grow. And at the same time, we're about giving back. And so, anybody that people will naturally either be attracted or repelled from our organization based on who we are. Those 4 words really describe in a nutshell who we are as an organization.
Thank you for sharing. Can you maybe also just touch on what are some of the, processes that you go through when you're looking to bring someone on board? So, of course, having that mission, vision, value, beliefs, perspectives in mind. Do you do a KPA with them? Obviously, sticking to some of the KW systems. I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, we definitely use the career visioning system. There is not a single person that gets hired in our organization that we haven't taken all the way through the process. We don't cheat the process because we know the process works. Mm-hmm. So we do go through the entire process when we're looking to make a hire. And I think the last one is it's almost the last one I think is super important. And that is the group interview. So it doesn't matter whether I'm taking someone through the process or whether Joe is. At the end of the day, there's always the group interview with all of us. And it's the opportunity for people who have not been involved in the process of that particular individual to give us their blank. You're going to have to work with this person every day. Do you like them? Are they fun? Are they kind? Are they doers? And so I think that part of the process, people, I think, skip over, and I think it's a big mistake because I want everyone's buy-in on the hire, or let's just keep looking. And there have been times where we passed even at that group interview stage and just kept looking to find the right person to fit in our organization. We're all very, very different, but we all have, I would say, similar values around those 4 Gs.
And you have to protect the culture too, right? For your people. That's, I really love that step in the career visioning process as well, because if I'm bringing someone in, or, someone else is referring a potential candidate for our organization, everyone has to find that fit and make sure that that person can be good in our environment and protect the culture altogether.
Just like this morning, we have a leadership call every morning. And on the leadership call this morning, somebody said, this was a great call because today, all of us felt like we evaluate at the end of every single week. How are we doing? How was our execution level, scale of 1 to 10? Everybody executed this week. They gave themselves a really high score of 9 or above, which we've never had before. And everybody was in a really good space. And it felt like, everything that we've been working towards, including using the 12-week year as we narrow our focus and focus on execution, it just felt like we got it right this week. We got it so right. And everybody was super excited, filling other people's buckets. And that's a great call to have on a Friday.
Kristan, I'd like to ask you a question about your expansion sites. Obviously, you guys as a company offer your expansion partners a ton of value. Do most of these partners, do they come through your organization and decide to start teams of their own, or have they gone out, started a team of their own and failed and come to you to say, how can you help me improve my business? How do people enter your system?
Both. I think, we have new agents. We have agents that have experienced agents, and we have agents who have small teams. We have agents that have joined us and with the support of our admin and leadership team have been able to create a team within a team and had greater success than they ever had as an individual. So I think, it's really all of that. And what I would say, Mike, is it depends on what they want. It's not about what I want. People ask me all the time, well, do people have to want a certain thing? Meaning, do they have to want to grow a team? Do they have to want to do 50 million? What is it that you will be willing to allow them to be part of your organization? And from my perspective, it goes back to the 4 Gs again. So I'm not tied to whether or not they want to build a team, whether they want to be a regional director and oversee a pod, whether they just want to be a single agent. I want what they want. I truly do. So as long as their values line up with our 4 Gs, if they want to be a single agent and just use our team to support them, and their mechanism of growth is just working their database, awesome. However, if they want more and they want us to help, they want us to train them and teach them on how to build a team within a team, awesome. So if they're a great agent and want to learn how to be a better leader, which is completely different than being a great salesman, awesome. So to me, it's helping people get where they want to go. And I'd also say, I think sometimes some of the people in our organization, maybe were passed over by other people. Maybe they didn't see some of the things that I value greatly in them. And because I've seen people flourish on our team that because we believed in them, we had that belief in them that had never had that kind of success prior to. And that makes me happy.
For sure. Now, obviously, you mentioned grit, grace, giving, and growth. I imagine anyone that wants to start their own franchise within your organization, those characteristics need to be in place. Are there any other things you look for, or any track record that needs to be obtained before someone can start an expansion team within your company?
Well, again, do they have to be licensed? Can they be at the beginning of their career? There's some expansion business owners that really aren't particularly keen on new agents. I feel differently about that. As long as they have the will and the want to succeed and get up every morning and do with the things that nobody else wants to do, I can train them on how to sell real estate. So to me, it really comes back to mindset, their attitude and their work ethic. Everyone in our organization works hard. We also have fun and play hard. And we're able to separate the two and know when each is appropriate. So what I would say is I'm just looking, it's really hard to build a bigger organization when you don't have people who want the same things. And what I mean by want the same things, if you look through our organization, every single one of our leaders are involved in philanthropy. They're involved in giving back. They're involved. They want to grow. They're creative. They're bigger thinkers. So to me, boil it down in a nutshell is, we talk about being gritty, but I think that's really the most important thing to me is, are you gritty? When to me, gritty means, do you have perseverance even at extreme odds? Because I think a lot of success is just never giving up, never quitting. And my husband says, and it's true, you cannot fail at real estate. You can only quit. You can only quit. So, as long as they're not a quitter and they want to make it work, I can help you be a good real estate agent. No question. Our team can help you, be a better leader. But what we can't do is we can't make you want it more than we do. You have to want it. You have to want it. We can't make that happen for you. So I think we want people who want it just as much as we do. We don't want to have to pull the train. Pardon me. We want people who are willing to jump in and help pull the train. And I say that because it's just way different when everybody's pulling on the oars. I'm using two different vernaculars, but I think you know what I mean.
I find we have a lot of people that come through our doors and we interview them, and sometimes they tell you what they maybe think you want to hear. How, when you're looking at bringing on a new person in your organization, how do you truly determine whether or not that grit exists within them?
You can see it in their track record for sure. It's not so much what went right in their world, but I look at what went wrong, and when it did, what did you do? Because that tells me more than anything else. And I remember, Peter's on this call with me. He's our director of digital technology or marketing, or he does a lot of things. But I remember when I was taking Peter through the process, and he was explaining to me the difference between the community college he went to and the 4-year university, and just how he saw it differently. And what I loved his answer, because what his answer and what he was telling me gave me insight into what did he do when he found himself at a 4-year university and had unmet expectations. So, just you look at what have they learned from either a super high in their life or a super low in their life. What happened, and then what did they learn from it? And if there aren't any learning moments, or if they can't tell me what the top 3 things are that they're most proud of, or they have to think long and hard to think of any successes that they've had, or where they've really given back and seen a major change in something. If they can't tell me any of that, if they can't give me concrete examples, then that, there's either people, there's people that like to just go in and collect a check every day, and there's people who actually want to make a difference. So I think you can tell real quickly who is it that's going to come in with entitlement mentality, and who's going to come in feeling like they're here to make a difference.
I love so much about what you said there about, I think it was being pulled by the train or pulling the train.
Yeah.
I have a number of agents on my team, and when you look at them, some days you feel like you're pulling certain individuals. It's the last thing you want. But when you get that right person that fits well into your organization, puts the organization before themselves, they're drivers. And I find, say they are a new agent, they get to production and get to the accomplishment of their goals so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you can get everybody going in the same direction, which I really feel like using the 12-week year and using our GPS for a 12-week year, it has not only narrowed our focus to what really matters right now, it helps get rid of all the clutter out there, the 80% that truly doesn't matter, but we think it matters. But it really, what I would say is by all of us pulling together and working together is we see the connectivity between everything that everyone is doing in the organization and the fluidness by which it's being executed. So it's really taken us up to a whole nother level. And we started using the 12-week year in October, and I feel like we're just now hitting our stride. And we work on it every week. Every Monday, I'm meeting with each one of them individually on their their GPS and their 411. And then we're on a leadership call every morning all week long as well. And I feel like we are really hitting our stride, meaning we don't have any silos. Everyone is working together towards the common goal.
That's awesome. And okay, I want to kind of pivot the focus a little bit. I think we've gotten a lot of great stuff on team building and especially expansion. Now, in creating such a large expansion network, obviously your systems have to be pretty bulletproof. So I want to put some focus on that. And if you're willing to share, maybe talk about some of the systems that you have in place to help expand into 30 plus different locations.
I would say that I want to say we're fixing it all the time, meaning, you get to a certain point and what you built it for doesn't work anymore. And then you got to fix it again. We're right now in the middle of, I would say, fixing it again, meaning, but I think fixing it, and you like to hope, okay, this could take us to 500 agents. Well, maybe it can, maybe it can't. But I've gotten over the fact that we're gonna complete a project and it's gonna be done. That's just not gonna happen. It's constant reinvention. It's constant making something better. And Gary said, don't worry about failing, just worry about fixing something fast when it's not working. So we fix things when they stop working. The one thing that we do, you ask about systems, we are all about systems and models. And we create what we call playbooks for everything that we do. So that it doesn't matter what location you're in, you can download the playbook and you know exactly what to do. You know exactly what the support team is going to do for you. And you know what the expected result will be when you do it at a high level. So I think the systems that, and writing the playbooks the same way, meaning every one of them asks the question, why are we doing this? And what's the strategy behind it? And at the end of the day, what are we trying to accomplish? And what is the result that we expect from doing this? So that's allowed us. And while, you wish you had the 1%ers in every single seat on your bus, and that clearly isn't always the case. But what I can say is when somebody who's a rock star comes along, we have a gal in Alaska, and she joined us a year ago, May, brand new agent, never sold a thing. And she took our open house playbook and just executed on it. And she was rookie of the year for all of Alaska. I think she sold 39 houses last year, which as a rookie, brand new agent, I think is substantial. I think it's awesome. And you think, well, why doesn't everybody do that? Well, everybody isn't as driven and everybody doesn't want the same things. And so me as a leader, I get up every day and see my job and my opportunity is to figure out what they want and make sure they're getting it. Because it really, as long as it's within the model, meaning we're not going to put a bunch of effort, time, and money on people that don't get it, don't want it, and are just, taking up a seat on the bus. But we will pour time, effort, energy, and money into those people who do show up and suit up every day. And I think that's the one thing during this last crazy year that I'm super proud of is our team showed up, suited up every single day and rocked it.
So on that note too, like over the past year, what are some changes that you guys have made that have impacted your business overall? Obviously, we're having to move to a more virtual world. Can you touch on that?
I think we've gotten much better at communication.
Okay.
When you can't see each other every day or be in the physical same space every day, and you're relying on communication, you realize where your holes are. And so, for instance, instead of doing a weekly leadership meeting, we changed to daily. And what that helped us do was eliminate roadblocks when they happened rather than weeks or months later. So we were able to pivot quickly. It allowed us to be extremely flexible. It allowed us to move to the message of the moment. Like our message of the moment right now is different than what it was in March of last year. So I think we're by communicating often and differently, meaning we do videos. If we're going to send something out to all of our network, we'll do a video, we'll do like a workbook that goes with it. We'll give them instructions. So even though we might go over it on a Friday call, we still have all those other pieces in place because not everybody learns the same way. Not everyone hears things the same way. And so I think overall, the number one thing we've gotten much better about is clearer communication.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you guys have maybe made a big change in over the past year?
I'd say two things. One, it's getting super clear when you are talking to a client, customer, is client-based questions to discover and understand motivation. So instead of, like, for instance, setting price at a listing appointment, instead setting expectations. So again, it gets back to communication. So setting expectations, I think we've gotten much, much better at, rather than going in and telling a buyer or seller. Instead, setting expectations and asking great questions to make sure that we clearly understand, at the end of the day, even though they have maybe 4 or 5 things that are concerning them or that they really want, we get super clear on what the most important thing is to them. And that the only way you do that is from asking great questions. So we just gotten much better at setting expectations, asking great questions, and communicating often.
I think that's so huge. That seems to be, I don't know if it's a theme in KW, it definitely is in our area. Going from, I think when you start asking questions and making it all about the other person on the other side of the table from you, your client, you go from salesperson to consultant. And I don't remember hearing so much about that until we moved into this COVID world. I feel very fortunate. Like, Kristan, you won't remember this, I don't think, but you taught a course in Toronto probably 3 years ago. And I was brand new to the business. I attended it, and it was fantastic. You cracked my mind open. I that time thought I was going to be a salesperson for the rest of my life. I didn't know growing a team was a thing. But during that era of my career, I used to get canceled listings constantly. In the beginning, every time I signed 2 listings, 1 would cancel, and it happened again and again and again. And it's because I didn't ask questions and make it about my clients. I think no one wants a salesperson, especially when we're dealing with people's largest assets. They want a consultant. They want someone they know truly cares about them.
They do. And they also, when you ask questions, people lean into you. When you make statements, they push away. So the best way to get people leaning towards you is to ask them questions and let them talk and let them, and then you just guide them. Okay, great. You shared with me, Mike, 4 things that are super important to you. Of those 4 things, which one is has the highest priority for you? So you're not telling them anything. You're just asking them.
I think when as realtors, when we start running our businesses that way, we're essentially helping people make their dreams and goals come true. And it not only will you do more business, but it ignites a passion within you. It's the same as you describing to us that you don't drive your agents. It's all about what the agents in your organization want to achieve, and you're just there to support them through it.
Well, and also, Mike, as you ask those clarifying questions, what's interesting is a lot of the time you help the client get clear in their mind what they want. Oftentimes they say, oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about that. And so you can just see the wheels turning when you ask great questions. You see that they're getting super clear on themselves on what they want. I was a buyer this year, and myself personally, and it was funny because I had, a list of things that I wanted, one of which I wanted to be within 10 minutes of my office, my market center. And, what's interesting is, even though I'm a licensed broker and I'm actually a designated broker in the state of Arizona, I know enough to not represent myself. So I had one of my team members representing me. And the question she asked me, she said, we found the perfect property, but it was 25 miles from my office. Or not 25 miles, 25 minutes. And I bought it. And she said, but I thought you said you wanted to be, within 10 minutes of your office. I did, but on the list of priorities, it was at the bottom. The most important things we found in the property that I actually ended up buying. So I think getting super clear on what, out of all these things, so it's kind of isolating what the most important thing is for them. Because I can tell you, I've had people that told me they wanted a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a double car garage on an acre lot and end up buying a condo in the city. So it's because we didn't drill down and ask enough questions to help them get super clear on what their priority was.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I guarantee you, once you start working on that skill set, it's going to make you a better agent. Your volume of sales is totally going to go up. But what I've noticed is it's so applicable to other areas in your life. If you start leading through asking questions, you're a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better brother, sister, friend. It's so key in this world.
Once you start, it's really hard, Mike. It's hard to go back and make statements. Because you've gotten so used to asking questions. People say, well, make a statement for me, like how you used to sit down and have a buyer's consultation. And I couldn't even do it because I'm so used to now asking questions. I can't even do it. So it is something that you quickly can get in the habit of. And you're right. It really spills over into all areas of your life. Clarity, understanding, priority, setting all that stuff happens naturally. And here's what's funny. Because of that, because I know myself pretty well, I looked at one house and bought it because it's just clarity. I was super clear. So I think we all know clarity is power, but just share with you, most of us have not learned that in the real estate business. So what we go in do every day is just sit down with people and dump all over them and we just make statement after statement after statement about, well, the interest rates are really low. You should buy right now, Mike. Well, How motivating is that, right? You don't even know whether that's important to them. They might be paying cash and could care less what the interest rates are.
Yeah. So I think this might be a good opportunity to segue to the next. It's one of the last things we want to talk to you about, but mentorship. It sounds like through talking to you over the course of the last 10 minutes about asking questions, it sounds like I'm reading a John Maxwell book. I know you're super, super tight with him. What impact has he had on your career?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. He's had a huge impact on me. I think, I had a lot of success entrepreneurially before I met him, but I believe the reason that my success, the things that we have achieved as an organization exploded after I met him is because, and I think this really happens with anyone. When you meet someone who believes in you, and they actually say that and articulate those words to you, and especially someone that obviously has achieved what he has achieved, you think to yourself, wow, if John thinks I can do it, surely I can do this, right? So I think probably the one thing more than anything is he has not only taught me, because it's one thing to know intellectually, it's a whole another thing to know from the heart. He has clearly taught me how to be a better leader. There's no question about that. And he's also taught me. He's taught me how to fundraise, how to raise money for charity. He's taught me so many things, and he takes the time to explain the why behind it. Why would you do this versus that? And I obviously count him as a dear friend. Was able to be with him in a group called The Circle, and it was that year it was 11 people that he was mentoring. And what I learned from just being involved in that circle and watching other incredible business leaders interact with him is it just helped me see things differently. I would call it an inside out experience, meaning you have to clearly understand who you want to become as a leader and why you want to become it first before you can have any impact. So that's an inside job. You have to get super clear inside of your own mind, your own heart, who you want to become, why you want to become it. If you don't do that first, it's really hard to have any impact on the result that you actually want. So I call it inside out. So once you figure that out, then what you learn very quickly is the Zig Ziglar statement, and it's so true. If you just help people get what they want, the indirect consequences, you get what you want. He really helped me see that most people live in survival their entire lives because they don't realize the difference between survival and success is just a very small incremental improvement. And if once I oftentimes in a class will share that model and show people how they're really, let's just say with real estate, they're really only 30 to 45 minutes worth of additional lead generation every day to take them from survival mode to success. Most people don't think they're in survival, but Mike, if you're getting up every day and all you're doing is just paying your bills, you're in survival. So if I can show them with 30 or 45 more minutes of very focused concentration on this one thing, could take them into success. And I define success as now, you're able to be part of taking care of maybe some of your family's responsibilities, maybe your parents, maybe, you're able to help other people. It's no longer just about you and survival. And it's the same incremental difference. A lot of people stop right there at success. And John Maxwell would say that's the most dangerous place to be, because it's easy to sit back when you become successful and get comfortable. He says it's super dangerous. He said, from his perspective, the next step is going from survival to significance, which then is all about other people and helping others. Your family's fine. You've taken care of your family. Now, how about going and helping other people, which is really where our charity comes in, our 501c3. And then the final thing is transformation, to go from significance to transformation, to being a transformational leader. And one of our leaders today on our leadership call read something from John Maxwell's book. It was about being a transformational leader. And he said, he basically was saying, we are becoming that. And transformation, how do you know you become a transformational leader? Because you have evidence of people's lives being transformed. So that's a long answer to how John Maxwell has impacted me. And I remember asking him one time, I was purchasing a property to use in our 401c3. And I said, it's only going to help 4 families, Sean. It just seems so small. And here's what he said. I will never forget this. Do for one which you wish you could do for many. And I thought, wow. He said, just go do for one what you wish you could do for many. And so what he was saying is, any sort of contribution to helping other people is not insignificant. It does have impact. So I've always thought of it from that perspective. No, I'm not John Maxwell, but I can make a difference right here where I am.
That's amazing. I really love everything that you shared. I was taking down notes, so I don't know if you could see me ferociously typing away there. I'm kind of speechless in that moment, but I want to hear more about some of your top mentors. Obviously, Gary Keller is on that list. Are there any other people that have really influenced you over your career that you'd like to even just shout out right now?
I will tell you that for different reasons, they've impacted me. So John Maxwell certainly impacted me to become a better leader. There's no question. Gary Keller has helped me become a much, much better business person. There's no question about that. My husband has helped me be a lot more creative. He's way more creative than I am. I'm an implementer and a doer, but he's that creative side of me that shows up and people are like, wow, that was awesome. Well, I just executed on it. He was the creative one. I'd also say, my business partner, Anthony Azar, who is, everybody needs a black hat in their organization who thinks through all of the things that could go wrong so that you put the work in the front end. And he is a great business partner. And again, I think it's back to what I said about John. When you have people who believe in you, it's a whole lot easier to get up every day and start executing because you're executing based on their belief. And that can be extremely powerful. I will say I was super excited this past year that both Gary Keller and John Maxwell asked me to write a piece in their new book that came out. Gary's isn't out yet, MREA 2, but John's is, and he wrote a book last year called The Leader's Greatest Return. And he now, I'm not going to make it more significant than it is. It's not. It was a one-liner in his book, but the book in and of itself, The Leader's Greatest Return, is it for someone who has a great organization and wants to take it to a whole nother level. That book is amazing because it's all about attracting and developing and multiplying leaders.
Amazing. And we heard from Gary last a couple weeks back too, like leadership is teaching people how to think and creating other leaders. And that's 100% what you've done. And obviously the great leaders that you've had in your life have also helped you to do the same. Can you maybe just quickly touch on what a mentorship opportunity looks like in your network for the people in your organization?
Good question. What I would say is that it's something that we're purposeful about every day, and yet it's not a structured. It's not a structured form. What I mean is, it's ironing, sharpening iron every day. And yes, I do one-on-ones with everyone that reports to me, which right now there's 11, which is a lot. That's what I do every Monday. And I am very intentional about it because I truly want to know from their perspective how they're doing. Do they feel like they're winning? Do they feel like they're crushing it? Do they feel, and if they're not, how can I remove the roadblocks, or at least get them to have the belief in themselves to remove the roadblocks so that they can get where they want to go? There's somebody that I'm mentoring right now, and he wanted to put together a syndication with several people with $10 million to go do this project. And so I said to him, well, before we get together next week, I want you to write down the people that you're going to contact. Who are the list of people that you're going to contact? What's it going to look like? Who are the attorneys and CPAs and people that you need to bring into this? So I had him write it all down. Here's what I didn't know. In the month of December and January, he went out and got that $10 million funded. And he said, I blew me away. He said, Kristan, I went out and did it because you said it. And I thought, well, if Kristan believes I can do it, I probably can. And so that belief is a powerful, powerful thing. And he said, I would have never attempted this. But when you gave me kind of the roadmap of how to go do it, I thought, wow, she really thinks I can do this. And he did it. So I do believe that it's super important that you have people around you that do have belief in you, and that you're hanging out with people that are pushing you. Because sometimes that iron sharpening iron can feel ouchy. It can. So I would say, if you're not growing, then you might want to take a look at who you're hanging around, because who you spend the most time with they're either going to, that's what's going to make the difference. Who are you spending the most time with?
And it's funny you say that, because at the beginning of our podcast, that's kind of our intro, is you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. And that's also why we created this podcast, because we want to hang around with people that are doing things at a high level. And we want people to be exposed to conversations like this that they might not be exposed to on a regular basis. Last thing that I just want to touch on here, Kristan, we know you've got a charity. I want you to talk about that and some of the things that you've been doing or projects involved in Kristan's Home of Hope.
So Gary Keller challenged us back in 2015 to create a very strategic charity that fits in the same vertical of housing, and also pick something that you're super passionate about. For me, I'm super passionate about, at-risk youth. And so Kristan's Home of Hope, when you buy or sell real estate with Kristan's Home of Hope, you're supporting safe housing for at-risk youth. Safe housing for at-risk youth can look a lot of different ways. The thing I'm most proud of that we've accomplished here in the last year is we were able to raise $50,000 for, it's called My House. And it's for homeless youth in my hometown. And I think people would be shocked. In my little hometown of Wasilla, Alaska, there's 1,100 homeless youth. And that money then was matched by a state agency, and I can't recall the name of it right this second. And it allowed them to buy the building that they're renting. And so to buy the building was going to save them enough money that then they could actually hire an additional staff person to work with the kids. And so, I'm just going to kind of boil it down to what the mayor said to me when we went to present them that check. And the mayor said to me, he said, Kristan, because of what you started 5 years ago, and as a business owner in our community, focusing on how you can help the community be better and putting your money behind it. He said, other business owners have too. And he says, you guys have taken a burden off of the city. I thought that was incredible. I never even thought of that as an outcome, but that was one of the outcomes of our charity, is that we have taken a burden off the city. So we do a lot of fundraising. When we do our Growth Word event once a year. It didn't happen last March because of COVID. All of the proceeds from that event go to our charity. And that the last time we did our Growth Word event, we raised $175,000. And we were able to, we really identified and earmarked 3 great charities. Teen Challenge was another one of the charities that we earmarked. And we, so for us to be able to take what Gary shared with us and really make it come to life and be able to make an impact in our communities where we live has been extremely rewarding.
That's amazing. And like you said before, do for one what you wish you could do for many. And it seems like you've already helped many, many people. So big commendation on that, Kristan. And thank you for sharing with us. I just want to say, I think it's been an amazing time with you. We were able to chat about team building, expansion, systems, mentorship, and lastly, philanthropy. So as we're starting to wrap up our episode here, we always ask our guests, Kristan, who do you know that we should have on this podcast?
Oh, wow. I mean, there's a lot of great people. Immediately, of course, all the people that I hang around with, I think about having on there. You guys are right there in Canada. Do you guys, oh boy, there's so many great people. I assume you mean in the real estate vertical, right?
Yeah, I think our focus here is with KW, our growth, everyone in Keller Williams growth, focusing more on the realtor and the team setting. Sure.
I don't know if you guys have access to Gary's Top 100 group, but there is such diversity in that group. And yet they're all wildly successful in their own right. And there isn't anyone in that group that you couldn't ask to be on that wouldn't be able to let you see a different stripe on the beach ball, and how they come at it from a different perspective to be wildly successful. So, there's lots of great people you could have on here. However, that group, I think, that group is super passionate about growth, and they all do it differently. And I think that's the cool thing, is to see that, success doesn't just show up. Opportunity doesn't just show up. Being prepared so that when opportunity shows up, you can take action is what's important. And these guys, that's what they do. They suit up and show up and get prepared every single day. And that's why they're in that group. They're some of the, top agents, not only in Keller Williams, but in the entire country.
That's amazing. Great suggestion. We haven't had anyone talk about that yet. So
I think that might be the best answer to that question we've ever had. So we need to start lead generating that group.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much for that.
I was Ben Kinney and I are really good friends, and I got on a call with him last week, and we were talking about doing business as usual in an unusual way. So yes, we still have to do business as usual, but we're doing it in an unusual way. And I just had Ben, it was very, we had some slides, but for the most part, Ben is able to say the most complex things in a very simple way that everyone can understand. If you could ever get Ben on your podcast, he and I think that's what I love about him, is that he's very relatable, and he says things in a way that are simple and understandable that anyone can pick up and take action on.
Well, we just had Chris on the podcast a couple weeks ago, so we'll have to go through our connections to get to Ben, but I think it's definitely possible.
For sure.
Thank you.
He's a very, very giving. So he rarely, he's a big giver.
That's awesome. Well, that concludes it. I want to say thank you again for setting this up and being available to chat with us. It's been great hearing from you guys all the way from Canada, and hopefully we'll be in touch again soon. Stay safe and take care.
Well, thanks for having me. It was my honor.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.